now that you have an understanding as to what's on your credit report, the next step is to know how much money is required for your down payment and how much money should you set aside for closing costs. Those are variables based on your loan program and based on the property that you choose. So we're going to start with down payment. There are several loan programs such as FHA, conventional, VA, USDA rural development, and also jumbo loans. With FHA, that's generally the first time home buyer loan because it allows you to have a little bit more debt to income ratio, which we went over debt to income ratio in the last video and how to calculate it. So if you are inquiring about the calculation, please refer back to my previous video. When it comes to FHA, the down payment requirement is 3.5%. And that is because of the risk. With FHA, you go up to 50% debt to income ratio, which gives you a little bit more room to have a little bit more debt. With conventional lending, there are two scenarios based on your credit score. If you have credit scores that are upward of 720, then you will qualify for 3% down. You should qualify, should I say. If your credit score is a 680 or to about 720, you will qualify for 5% down. And with that said, depending upon what your credit score will be, you would need to speak to your loan officer, and your loan officer will be able to tell you which program you would qualify for. The next loan program that you may qualify for is VA, and that's for our veterans. And with veterans, generally, there's no down payment requirement. I've seen where I had a client that actually had a foreclosure or a short sale, and there's a difference. So there's a calculation for that. But if you have not had a short sale or a foreclosure, it's generally no money down, which is a really good incentive for our veterans. In addition to that, if you are 100% disabled, then you will be exempt from paying the funding fee. There is no mortgage insurance associated with a VA loan, but there is a funding fee. If you have any percentage of disability, it could be 1%, and you're receiving disability, you are exempt from the funding fee of 2.25%. And then we have USDA rural development. With USDA rural development, it is exactly what the name states, rural. So you probably won't have access to the city. And with USDA rural development, it is 100% financed loan. And so there's no down payment requirement for that, but you would have to check with your loan officer, or if you have a knowledgeable real estate agent, you can check with your real estate agent, and he or she can let you know which homes will qualify for USDA rural development. Now, the last loan program I'd like to discuss with you is jumbo. Generally, that's 10% down. Totally different requirements from your traditional loan. So if you have more questions about the jumbo experience, feel free to contact either your loan officer or your real estate agent. And that's generally, again, 10% down. Credit score requirements are applicable. So now that we've spoken about your down payment requirement, we're going to now go into your closing costs. As a former loan officer, I would use the calculation just to make it easier of 3.5% for closing costs, because generally closing costs are around 3% of the sales price, and in addition to that, your escrows are about 0.5%. Those numbers can vary because it is an estimate. Again, with your closing costs, that's pretty much set in stone. So your loan officer will be able to tell you what those fees will be. But when it comes to your escrows, those costs vary depending upon the property, your interest rate, and also your insurance quote. Sometimes the closing costs can be variables depending upon the lender and what closing attorney you choose. But as a rule, I use 3.5%, and it is pretty close. If you don't have a down payment requirement, then you're only talking about considering your closing costs, because there is no down payment requirement. But if you have a down payment requirement, add the 3.5% to your down payment requirement. That gives you a pretty good gauge as to how much you will need to save and prepare towards your cash to close. If this video has been helpful to you, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.